Masechet Bava Kama, Tzadik Ches Amud Beis, Baruch Hashem, new Mishnah, and the Shiur Leilu Nishmas of Imoyri Menachem Ben Akiva, Leilu Nishmas Torah Bas Moshe, Ruth Bas Shalom, Uleilu Nishmas Kol Chalolei Tal. And for the refuah of Noach Leonel Ben Yulia Oria, Yudis Bas Rivka, Fegel Tziporo Bas Hadassah. Before we start the sugya, before we start the Mishnah, I want to save you some agony, and I will give you an introduction. The concept we're going to learn today is a concept called אומן, קונה, בשבח, keli. Uman, besides being a city in Russia, Ukraine, is Uman means a craftsman, or Uman is a craftsman, artisan, or an artist. Uman kona b'shvach keli means as follows. When I gave an Uman, if I gave, I'm just going to call him Uman. It's an artisan, a person who, imagine yourself, makes those beautiful Ming vases. He did. He made many years ago. The vase. And I gave him, or it's a carpenter or a painter or something like that. I gave him a piece of wood. Very nice. The piece of wood is worth 100 shekels. And he made it into a most beautiful work of art worth 1,000 shekels. So the 900 shekels that he invested, those 900 shekels are a result of his work, and only his work, with the help of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, of course. But Lamaisa, it's the work of the persona, the artisan. So that is those 900 shekels extra that, are a whole new creation. It's a new creation created by MrArtisan.com. So this new keli belongs to who? It belongs to him. I gave him the raw material. He created the keli. Now the keli, the new keli, the vessel, the product belongs to him. And of course, he's mechuyev to give it to me because that was the agreement. I said, you make me, it's a project. It's called a kablan. Kablan doesn't mean only the guy who tried to build your house with a modicum of success. Kablan also means a person that got a project to do. For example, I gave him the pieces of wood and he made a beautiful furniture, a cupboard or a chair. So now, at the end of the job, he's supposed to give me back. It's not exactly giving back. He's supposed to give me the piece of art that he did, and I'm paying him. But you know how he works? He works in such a way that he's like selling me a product. Because by the time he finishes the product, because he's the one who invested everything, and I wouldn't say ex nihilo because there was my piece of wood, fine. But Lamaisa, from my raw piece of wood, which looked like a piece of nothing, he made that extra 900 shekels worth of work. So that we say says the Chita Mekubetzes brings down the Shem Rabbeinu Yonasan Shinui Koine. We all know that from the Gazlan. When it was a Gazlan, it was a bit hard to understand. Now it's much easier to understand. A Shinui is Koine. He changed it. He created it. Or even we'll see later on. Even if he didn't create a new thing, he changed something. I gave him my nice white piece of cloth, and now I want to paint it, red, blue, and green and yellow, like the flag of Pucha Chucha. I want to now have it in many colors. Now what? He dyed, whatever you want to call it, my cloth. It's an improved piece of cloth now. Now it has a whole new color. So that improvement, the difference between a regular one and a colored one, that belongs to him because he's the one who made the shinui. He made the shinui, so it belongs to him. I'll give you another idea. Well, no questions yet. Too early. Another idea that is something which I learned in yeshiva. I don't remember on behalf of who. And I start now on Chochma b'shem Rav Dessler. Rav Dessler was a very well-known Baal Musar. He wrote Michtam Eliyahu. He's famous for his Musar work. You all heard of Michtam Eliyahu. He lived in England for many years. But he also wrote about Shas. He also wrote Lomdus, explanations of the Gemara. So he says, I don't know if I understood him 100%, but I know we learned it in Yeshiva. When we say Shemona Esrei, Koine Hakol. Hashem is Koine Hakol. Hashem is the one who acquires everything, right? Where did Hashem buy it? Hashem didn't buy it in the supermarket. He created it. If you take something and you create it, that's a kinyan. If I take something of hefker, it doesn't belong to anybody, let's say, raw material, and I make something out of it, even without Agbo, without Mashiach, the Achronim say, or even before, that is kinyan. It's a form of kinyan. Kinyan number, I don't know, maybe 25 in my list. So here too, if the person took the raw material and created something from it, it belongs to him. Of course, he's not allowed to keep it for himself because the condition was he'll have to give it back to me. But it's as if I'm buying from him a whole new product, which means I'm not paying him for his work. I'm paying him for the vase. I'm paying him for the furniture. And now we're also going to see enough kamina regarding nezikin. Well, our Mishnah is going to discuss what happens if that woman, the craftsman, what happens if there was a nezek at some point in the work. Instead of building me a very nice cupboard with 3 doors, he did some kind of a botched job and he messed it up. Now it's not worth as much. Does he have to pay me? Doesn't he have to pay me? Etc. Yeah, okay.
You're talking about something
For you. Having said that, there is another kind of agreement called poyel. Let's say I tell a person, you know, the kablan, I wish I had the whiteboard, I don't have time now to hang it. There are 2 ideas in halacha when it comes to agreements between people. The truth is, it's also true in the secular world, but in the halacha, it makes a difference. I don't care about the secular so much. Kablan is the person who works per project. I don't care if you work by day, work by night. I don't care if you're going to do it in 5 minutes, magic hands, or 5 hours. I want next week to impress all the guests in my daughter's wedding. I want a nice centerpiece from wood. That's all I care. I'm not paying you per hour, per work, per schmork. I'm paying you per what? The vase, okay, or the piece, or the dyed flag. Lemaisa, if all I'm asking for you is to create a creation, you're kablan, you're a project manager of yourself or of other workers. If I pay per project, then you are the owner of the project because you created it. Kona, you created that item. Therefore, it belongs to you, Mr. Craftsman, and I'm buying off you, not your work. I'm buying the item, which has many ramifications. That's one way. However, Ellen Rubinstein, you are right that if I pay a person per hour, let's say I told the person, listen, I'm not paying you I'm paying you per hour to clean my floor. I'm not paying you to have a clean floor. I'd like to have that too. I'm paying you Ozeret, hour per hour. Every hour she gets paid, I don't know, 25 shekels, 30 shekels. You pay her every hour by the hour. That's called a poil. Yeah? Or let's say dry cleaners. By the dry cleaners, we'll see later on in the Gemara, some dry cleaners are paid by project, which is most dry cleaners today. I don't care when they do it, how they do it. I don't know what's going on there in the back room of the dry cleaners. Maybe you do. You're more educated than I am. All I want is a clean suit for Shabbos. That's kablan. Yeah, they brought me an improved product called clean black suit. However, if I pay the dry cleaners per hour, and they have all new agreement, and they say we charge 10 shekels an hour, and it took us 4 hours, it's 40 shekels, or we charge 10 shekels, and there are 3 hours, it's 30 shekels. That's a different agreement. And then you're right. Then that's called a poil. Then I have to pay for his work, and not paying for the product. I'm paying him per work. And a chinami. Okay. So that is right. It depends if it's a kablan project or a poil, which is the person paid per hour, per work, per day, etc. And there are some things in between, which we'll see later on. Okay. Let's start the Mishnah. We didn't even start today's Shiur yet. Okay. I love questions. I'm being so nice today. Before we start the Mishnah, I'm answering Yaakov. We will see 2 very major differences very soon. 2 major differences between whether you pay a kablan or you pay a poil. At the end of the day, of course, you have to pay him, and sometimes it could be the same sum. But at the end of the day, there are 2 major differences. But you know what? I'll give you one difference now. I'm being very nice, even before we start the Mishnah. There is something which I want people give over the head, and really I should also be rebuked. When you have to pay people on time, you have to pay them on time. It's a terrible avera. If somebody's waiting for his money to be paid, then he's a poel, and you just hold his money for no reason. You have the money, and you just don't have enough time because the guy goes on a vacation to the Bahamas, and his secretary or his other workers are dying for the money, literally almost dying for the money, and he's taking his time. It's a terrible avera, Isur Daraisa, every day, if not every minute. So now here's the difference. If you say that the person is a poel, if an uman is a poel, you look at him as a worker per hour, you have to pay a salary. If he worked for me every hour, I'm his employer. And at the end of those hours, when the chair is finished, and then don't look at him as a kablan, and look at him as a poel, then in a chinami, I have to pay him right away. Unless I don't have the money, I can explain, whatever. Mash'enken, according to the new idea that just dawned on us today, אומן קונה בשבח keli, if we say he's not my worker, he's selling me a product, there's no problem of schar sochir. I can hold back his money. Maybe it's nice not to, but I'm not over an aveir if I held back his money. Why? Because just like I bought an item from the store and I told the store owner, listen, I'm a bit tight for cash. Can you hold it for a week or 2 or 3? He says, fine, no problem. So then when I buy a product, there's no Isser Daraisa or Chiyuv Daraisa b'yoyim titan schol to pay right away. So that's enough kamina. If we say Uman Kona B'shvach Kli and it's his product, he's selling. He's now behaving as if he's IKEA, as if he's a harush, as if he's a furniture store. That's all. Yeah, that's the idea. Mashenkin, if you look at him as a poil who's paid per hour, then we say, oh, paid per hour, you have to pay him straight away. I said too much. Chaval, everything is going to be very clear in the Gemara, Mishnah. The men who spoke too much. Yeah, says the Mishnah. Weiter. Says the Mishnah. Nosen le'umnin le'taken. This is very, very important. We realize the lotion of the Mishnah here is two different. There are two different statements here. Nosan le'umnin le'taken. A person gave umonin something to fix. Fixing can either be to create something or to fix something. The kilkelu, he gave the craftsman something to do. It's a very general statement. The first statement of the Mishnah and the kilkelu, in nice literal English, messed up. Yeah, they broke something. Yeah, they destroyed it. Chayovin l'shalem, they're mechuyev to pay. They have to pay because they destroyed his piece of furniture of the owner. Okay. Next case, Nasan lecholo, she gave a carpenter shida tevo migdal, all kinds of pieces of furniture. For example, shida is, Rashi says it's like the trunk, like the boot of the chariot of the women. I don't know, a special thing. You know, the chariot or wagon of women had a special box, the carriage wagon, the chule, yeah, of the women. Sheda teva is a box. Migdal is not a tower. Migdal is a cupboard, the closet. Letaken. He gave them pieces of furniture to fix. The kilkel, and then the uman, the carpenter, instead of fixing and improving my cupboard, he ruined it. Chayiv l'shalem. Again, chayiv l'shalem. The first statement, if you notice, was more obscure. I gave something to the uman to fix. Which uman? I don't know. What? I don't know. The second case is what? I gave a box to the uman. I gave an existing box that I bought yesterday in IKEA, and I want him to improve it. I want him to do something with it. Yeah, to stick an extra nail or extra thing, and he messed it up. Chayiv l'shalem. Two statements. We're going to go back and revisit it later. V'abanai. Here comes the statement which has not so much to do with our sugya in the Mishnah. The builder shekibel olav listo as a koisel a shiputznik. He got your Israeli shiputznik, and he is now supposed to listo, to demolish your wall. He's going to redo your kitchen. You have a new house, redo the kitchen, and now you paid him to. That's his kablan harisot. I've actually seen such a sticker. Yeah, he's a destruction kablan. I mean, all of them are. Yeah, demolition. That's the word. Yeah. At least he admits that he only knows how to ruin. That's the difference between him and other kablanim. So now he's supposed to demolish the wall. Oh, surprise, surprise. Instead of demolishing it nicely and keeping the bricks intact, he broke the bricks. Or damaged them otherwise. He's chayiv l'shalem. He's chayiv to pay. I gave you what? Something to be soiser and you destroyed it too much. You got to pay. And you can't say you're honest, you're this and that. You're not honest. You should have done it more carefully. Anyhow, there's no honest kimat in Ezekiel. However, says the Mishnah, let's say a person demolished a wall on one side and the wall on a very far away side, very faintly connected to his side of the house. He's demolishing the wall in the kitchen, and somehow, in a very indirect, that's a magic word, indirect way, the bathroom wall fell, and that's not expected to happen. Potu is potu to pay. Could be because it's indirect. Could be to oines gomu. Is potu. It's so removed from what he did that he is potu if it's really far apart. Only if you can prove that it happened because of the makkah more directly. Yeah, let's say you can prove somehow. You can see, you can show that because of his makkah, because of his blow, that was too stark, too strong in the kitchen wall. They were supposed to do. Because of that, boom, the bathroom wall fell, then he's chayiv. I'm not concentrating so much on the second part of the Mishnah because it's not the main sugya that we have today, but basically that's halacha, although we don't believe in oines in Ezekiel or the mod loilom, but if it's really, we can prove that it's disconnected, the blow over here is not connected to the destruction, to the unexpected destruction over there, is potur, But if it is connected enough, then he's chayiv. Okay, says the Gemara. Oh, now comes the big line. Amar Rav Asi. You remember what I told you? You have to remember, because we don't have a whiteboard today, you have to remember the first line of the Mishnah is obscure. The first line of the Mishnah said somebody gave someone something to do and they destroyed something. So the chayiv to pay for the destruction, for ruining it. The second case was what? The second case was specific. I gave a box, I gave a product that I bought yesterday in the furniture store to the Nagar to fix it an extra thing, and he destroyed it, and he's chayiv. Both cases are chayiv. Both Reisha, the obscure case, and both the clear case. Says Rav Asi, now a big line, a clear explanation. Lo shonu, this is only true that he has to pay me for destroying my furniture. Ela shenosan lechorosh shida table migdal. The second case of the chorosh, he gave the carpenter a box or a cupboard or a trunk or a boot. Lenaitz ben masmer. I had it from my house. I bought it a year ago. All I asked him was to stick an extra nail in it to strengthen it even more. What did he do? He stuck the masmer, the nail, another nail in the coffin, and he stuck it so strong he broke the whole thing. Oh, then he's chayiv. You know why he's chayiv to pay me? Because it's my box that I bought yesterday in a shop in a different city. Nothing to do with you. I brought you my box, you Mr. Shlamazo. You ruined my box, you chayiv. Are you smelling already what's happening here? Aval, but nosan lecharash in the second case of the Mishnah. If I gave the carpenter eitzim, I gave him raw pieces of wood, lasas shidatevo migdal, and I said, Mr. Craftsman, Mr. Carpenter, I want you to create a whole new shidatevo migdal, a whole new piece of furniture, a whole new box, a whole new table for me, a whole new thing, which means he's going to be the sole creator of it. The awesome man Shida Teva Umigdal, he created those boxes, he created those furniture single-handedly himself. Getting what's happening here. The Shibran, oh my. After it was finished, he wanted to be smart, did an extra thing, an extra nice flower on top, boom, bang. The whole thing is broken. Patu, he doesn't have to pay me more than just 100 shekels. He doesn't have to pay me the whole 900. My time. And why? Because of what I told you in the introduction of the Shiur. אומן קונה בשבח keli. Here we came to Uman. אומן קונה בשבח keli. This is one of Kamina Rabbi Gitzin from, and the major of Kamina of Rav Asi's statement. Because the craftsman acquires the doing of the creation of his own hands, he's the one who created it. Koina hakoil. He created it, he's the owner. He's the one who turned it from 100 shekel garbage a piece to 1,000 shekel piece. So that 1,000 shekel piece, or at least 900 of it, it's also a question, but definitely the existing piece, which is all the piece, belongs to him. I broke it. I'm not yet the balabais, the one who ordered the work. I'm not the owner of that piece. No, I will be once I pay, and he sells it to me. As long as that didn't happen, it belongs to him because he created it. He mainly does not have to pay me the entire 1,000 shekels. He destroyed his own 1,000 shekels. So it's his bad, and he lost the job. But Lemaisa, it's his gain and his loss, nothing to do with me. He doesn't have to compensate me because we say that Uman is the owner of the creation of his hands. Uman kona b'shvach keli. And that's why the second case of the Mishnah clearly, as I told you before, and Rav Asi just accentuates it, Rav Asi stresses the second case of the Mishnah is a ready-made box, which I bought in the store, no carpenter, or another carpenter. I got it by Yerusha 50 years ago from Grandma Beth. I don't know what, nothing to do with the carpenter. You're adding something and you're ruining it, that's when you have to pay, because it's my work that you destroyed, belonging to me. But if it's something that he created, he doesn't have to pay me because it's his creation belonging to him. Okay. Yeah. Oh, so that's a question. Possibly yes. Most probably yes. From later on, we'll see yes. He has to pay me 100 shekels for my wood, and that's it. But not because that does belong to me. Yes, the pashtus yes. It could be an issue. Yes. The pashtus yes. Carriage made by who? I gave him a ready-made carriage, or he created it? A ready-made carriage, he has to pay me everything. Because my carriage is worth 1,000 shekels, nothing to do with you. You didn't create it, mister. I bought that carriage 1,000 years ago. I bought it for 1,000 shekels in an auction last year. It's mine. You broke my thing. Mazi. Tzadiches Amud Beis, Rabbi Frank, we are about to start the wide lines, more or less. Allow me to make a blessing, please. 1 second. Now there's a weiter. Tnan, we are at the end of, we about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so 5 lines before the end of the narrow lines. Tnan, Nosen Umi V'Kilkilu, line starts with V'Kilkilu. Remember the first case of the Mishnah? The case was more obscure. He gave something to some kind of craftsman to do, and they destroyed it. They have to pay. My love must be. That first case didn't say Shidatevu Migdal. You know why? Because, he didn't say he gave them a box. He gave them something. What something? My love must be. Maybe he brought the first case. He brought them raw material, raw pieces of wood, and those raw pieces of wood, he asked them, please turn it into a whole box, a whole cupboard, and they still have to pay. Boy, that's bad news. That's against Rav Asi, right? It sounds like in the Reisha, even when they were given raw material and created their own beautiful, my own work of art, אומן קונה בשבח, we say it's not kona. We say that he still has to pay the owner, because we say just the opposite of what we said. It sounds like that even though it's a craftsman work, we say it's as if he's paid per hour and belongs to the owner. We're challenging what we just said. Yes. Why? Because the first part of the Mishnah says chayovim l'shalim. They have to pay, and he doesn't say that they gave a box. And it says Gemara, no. Says Rav Asi, don't scare me with your words. Shida tevo migdal. No. You know what is the something? Something is shida tevo migdal. So the first case and the second case are saying the same thing. The first case, when the something in the first case is a ready-made shida, which I bought 10 years ago in America, and I'm giving him a finished product to fix, and that's why he has to pay. But had he really created something from ex nihilo, from just a piece of wood, then in Achnami he wouldn't have to pay. Correct, the Gemara, stylistically, very good. Very nice, Baruch. Correct, the Gemara, the obvious question, Kol HaKavod to the peanut gallery. Correct, the Gemara, I'm the Ktani Seifa. The Seifa says, Shida Tevo Migdal. The Seifa is the one who clearly said that the guy, the owner, gave him a fully a ready-made thing to fix, which already belonged to him. Michlal, that is to say, from here I derive the Reisha, the first part. Eitzim must be the first case. He's not talking about a box. He talks about raw wood, unfinished wood. Why? Because otherwise, you're telling me the Mishnah is saying the same thing twice, not shaykh. And says the Gemara, yes, it's shaykh to say the same thing twice. Oh, how come? Listen to this. Rabbit out of the hat. Amri, they say perushika mefarish lo. The first case is obscure, and then it's explained by the second case. It's really one case, which means the first case is telling you a general idea. I'm reading it out in the Gemara. Keitzad, how is it? When is it that the first general statement of the Mishnah that I gave something to someone to fix and he ruined it? You know when that general idea applies? Boom! Now hit the nail on the head. Kegoin, for example, says a second case, which is really the first one. Very good. It's all one case. You decided it's 2 sentences and you're attacking me. Why is it repetitive? It's not repetitive. I'm telling you, I've been to Chutz La'aretz, where? To Belgium. It's not repeating. It's a general statement. Then I'm specifying where. When is it true that if I gave someone to fix or to do something, then he has to pay me because he's not the owner? You know what? It's true. Second statement says only when I gave him a ready piece, fully ready piece of furniture, and he had to just fix something, then he has to pay. But if he created something from zero, from raw material, then he doesn't have to pay because it belongs to him. Rav Asi, that's a key word. Bidiuk. How is it true? The second case. The Gemara now not only is attacking Rav Asi, The Gemara wants to say, Dachinami mistaber the ketzad ktani. The Gemara wants to say that it actually makes sense to read the Mishnah as one long statement, one explaining the other. That the two statements are one qualifying the other. Why does it make sense? Because if you want to tell me, if you want to be against Rav Asi, if you want to attack Rav Asi and tell me that the first case spoke about raw material, right? And even if I gave him raw material and he's the only worker who did everything on his own, he still has to pay me. That's against Rav Asi. That sounds very nice to attack Rav Asi, but look, you're going to get stuck. Hashta, now, Ashmeinan eitzim chayovin leshalem. If that would be true, what would you say? In the first case, when I gave him raw material, he still has to pay, even though he created it and I would have said it's his. We still say, no, it's not his, against Rav Asi, and he has to pay me. Okay, when I attack Rav Asi, so you're telling me that the first statement is against him, and we say no, that the Uman is not the owner of the work of his hands, and he has to pay me, even if he works for the raw material. If so, shade the teva migdal mi boy. If so, the second case of shade the teva migdal is unnecessary. If even in the case where he was given raw material, and there is at least a thought, a havamina, that he's the only owner because he created it with his beautiful crafty hands, and even then you say he's not the owner and he has to pay me for the damage. So the second case, when I brought him a shida, teva, migdal, a box, a cupboard, I don't know what, a car to fix, it's already my car, my thing, and he's just supposed to do final touch-ups and he missed it, of course he has to pay me. It's a redundant statement. Must be, there's another statements, because otherwise the second one would be super redundant. And therefore, it's much better to say there are not two statements, the one long statement with general and specific, like klal uprat. Similar to klal uprat of the Torah, this is in the Mishnah. Yes, I can repeat. Again, Rav Asi is now actually being supported by the style of the Mishnah. There are two ways how to read the ratio. Now, I'm actually thanking you for asking me to repeat it. The first statement of the Mishnah, let's revise everything also if people didn't hear. What's Rav Asi's big chidush? Rav Asi came today. We came today to Rav Asi's medrash. He has a bomb to throw on us. What? That if a person, an אומן, a craftsman, an artisan, an artist, created something by commission, by someone, so then it's his. Since he created it, creation is yours. The creation is already, it's your copyright, it's your ownership. That's Rav Asi's idea. Now, and therefore what? If I, the אומן, and I messed up, and at the final blow, after I created my cupboard, which I'm supposed to sell him, that's how it works, according to Rav Asi, and then boom, the post-final blow blew it, everything finished, then everything destroyed, he doesn't have to pay me. Okay, that's Rav Asi. Does Rav Asi fit into our Mishnah? In the second case of the Mishnah, absolutely yes. Why? Because the second case of the Mishnah, the Seifa, I would say, says Shida Tevu Migdal. If I gave Mr. Carpenter a ready Shida, which I bought yesterday in wherever, in a kolabite, a Shida, fine, in order to do an extra thing, an extra fixing, the tightening or something, then he's chayav to pay, of course. That's not a question. The question is the ratio. What did the ratio mean? The ratio is much more obscure. There are two ways how to read the ratio. Either the ratio is with Rav Asi or is against Rav Asi. Why? The ratio also says you have to pay, but the ratio is much more obscure. So Rav Asi, of course, is able to tell us what? That the ratio also is talking. No, let's start the other way now. Now the ratio could be against Rav Asi. The ratio, that's how we started off. The ratio could be saying, even if they gave him, even if the owner, the one who ordered the job, gave him a raw piece of wood, and he made a whole new beautiful cupboard from it, and then he messed it up, still the artisan has to pay. That's against Rav Asi. Of course. Rav Asi says, if I made my own thing, I don't have to pay you. So now that's the question, does the ratio mean it or not? Says Rav Asi, no. The ratio said right from the beginning till the Seifa, we're not talking about creating a whole new thing. Creating a whole new thing, I don't have to pay if I messed up my own furniture. It's my problem. It's mine, and I destroyed it. But, says Rav Asi, it's really all one long statement. We said a general statement. When is it true that the אומן has to pay me for messing up? That's a ratio. Where have you been in Chutz La'aretz? Comes the answer, only in a case when there was a ready-made box, which belongs to me, the owner, I gave him only to fix, then he has to pay. Otherwise, no. Where have you been? In Belgium. It's a klal uprat, okay? Now, that's one way to learn it. And it's even, no, what's the other way to learn it? No. The ratio is talking about, what? No. The ratio talks about a case in which was given a piece of raw material, made it all new, completely created all new creation, and still he has to pay. Still he has to pay. If he messed it up against Rav Asi, and we don't say that the Uman is the owner, that could have been, says the Gemara, it doesn't make sense. Because if you want to say that, then it's redundant. If you tell me that the guy who created a whole new piece, still he has to pay me, so kol sheken, that if I gave him my ready furniture, then of course he has to pay. Then the price would be much more redundant. You're telling me redundant? According to you, it's redundant. That's what Rav Asi is answering back. The Gemara wants to say, maybe Ad Kedei Kach, Rav Asi has a proof from our Mishnah. Although now we're going to demolish that too. Now we're going to reject that also, not completely. So it's a very nice idea what we're saying, but now the Gemara says it's not muchach. You see the beauty of the Gemara as opposed to secular way of thought, like, except for math maybe. You see everything is being thought out. Every possible option here in the Mishnah is being thought out, and even everything that we said now, which was so beautiful, even that we're going to shed it out. Says the Gemara, and I promise you that's the final stage in that ping pong, and then we're going to continue to the other part of the sugya. Second to last line, the penultimate line. If only because of that, la iria, not necessarily. In other words, if I wouldn't say la iria means it's not proven, it's not, I wouldn't go with that 100%. It's not muchach, Rav Asi is right. It's a nice idea. Don't tell me that the Mishnah is, like a clear-cut, concrete proof for Rav Asi. Yeah, why? Sometimes we make redundant statements. You know why? Because when we have one statement, and that's like in math, you can laugh at me, but in my youth, I actually did solve and actually liked it when I got to know how to do those equations with x and y. Yeah? So you have an x in the equation. How do you know what's x? According to the other numbers, you turn it around, right? Then you find what's the variable. That's what's happening over here. The first part of the Mishnah is an x. It's a variable. It's not known. Ne'elam, it's called in Hebrew. Ne'elam, we don't know what it is. That's what's called in Hebrew math. Ne'elam, the x, the variable. So now, we don't know what the ratio is talking about. So the Seifa is there to teach me what the ratio was about, which means, Shelot toimar, don't tell me, Reisha, Shidatevo Migdal, Aval Eitzim Loi. Don't, if the ratio would have been there on its own, without the Seifa, with its obscure language, I would have said that the Reisha is Shidatevo Migdal. I brought him an existing furniture to fix. But if I brought him raw pieces of wood, then he's not chayiv. Like who? Like Rav Asi. We're now in the anti-Rav Asi team. Ana Seifa, Sheditavu Migdal, Nichla Deresha Eitzim, Vafilachi Chayiv L'Shalim. I'm reading again. Tana Seifa, the Seifa tells me, Sheditavu Migdal. The Seifa is not an X. The Seifa is a number. The Seifa we know talks about an existing keli that you have to pay because you messed up something belonging to the person. That is to say, the Resha Eitzim. Only now, because I know that the Seifa talks about an existing keli, now I know that the variable, the x, to avoid redundancy, talks about eitzim against Rav Asi, and he still has to pay. Meaning, when we attack the against Rav Asi people, the non-Rav Asi people, by the way, we don't know who they are, it's just the narrator of the Gemara, we said, oh, it's redundant. It's not redundant. Redundant is if I say Belgium and Belgium again. I know it's Belgium already. But if it's X and Belgium, then I don't know. Then Belgium is this, so X is Holland, is a different place. In other words, we don't know what the ratio is talking about. So the Seifa told us, Shidatevo Migdal, to reveal on the X that it's a different case of raw wood, and he created everything, and he still has to pay against Rav Asi. Now, it's not muchach the other way. We can also see the other way. The Kitzur, the Mishnah cannot prove for Rav Asi, cannot prove against Rav Asi. There are two ways to read the Mishnah. Either the first part talks in general, is explained by the second part, or no, the first part is about raw wood, and the second case is about ready-made box, cupboard, car, whatever, closet. But the first case is still obscure. We don't know what it is. It could be Rav Asi is right, could be Rav Asi is wrong, and we'll leave it at that. We're still continuing just with the one idea. Again, Rav Asi's chiddush was what? אומן, קונה, בשבח, keli. If a craftsman who does not work per hour who works per project, and he did it all by himself, or his workers, it's his work from almost nothing. He created this whole creation. Then what do we say? He's the owner. He is the owner of the item. And if he broke it, he doesn't have to pay anybody. If I broke my own Chas v'Sholem phone, do I have to pay? I pay the phone shop to fix it. I have to pay myself. What does he have to pay? As you correctly said, only the 100 shekels of the raw material. That's Rav Asi's statement, and we'll continue to take it to the lab. We're going to take Rav Asi's statement to the lab and see how it fits in or doesn't fit in all kinds of cases. Bryce, it's a very fascinating sugya, in my humble opinion. Quick questions. Lema Mesayale. Oh, let's try and find a Shiur help. Excuse me. Lema Mesayale. Let's see a Shiur to Rav Asi. Anoiset Semer Latzaba. By the way, the proper word in Hebrew, every once in a while we have the Hebrew quarter, is not sabai, like 90% of the Israelis say, but sabah. You know that? Sabah is a painter or person who dies, not sabai, like the Mishnah says. The person who gave wool to the painter, the dyer, you say dyer? Okay, dyer, and I said, he gave wool, not wood, but wool to the dyer to paint the Kdicha Yoiro. Shlem Mazel, and then the yoira, which is the pot, the big pot, actually burnt it. So now the color is not nice. So you have some kind of funny color, but it's not the color I was asking for. It has this like a burnt kind of thing. The thing is messed up. So it was dyed, Ellen. Yes, you could sell it, and then later on, after dyed, then he died. It's the other meaning of died. Yeah. Then he went to bed, and that's not what I was looking for. And as far as I'm concerned, as the one who ordered the job, that's destroyed. I wasn't looking for this kind of color. So now he, the craftsman, the painter, gets to keep the destroyed / improved / destroyed item, changed, but not what I'm looking for now. I didn't ask for that horrible orangey color. And what? He has to give me, he keeps the tzemer. I'm the one who ordered it. He has to give me just the wool. Oh, as you're asking, the wool itself, not the wool itself, but the money, the worth, the value of the wool. The wool was worth 200 shekels. Now it's worth 400, which means it was destroyed, but still some people would buy it. Yeah, in other words, it's not the nice color. It's not dyed so nicely. Some people would buy it. As far as we're concerned, in our agreement, that's destroyed. And therefore, you keep the improved, but not so improved item, and you give me the person just at Simroi, very good, made Simroi in. You only has to give the one ordering, the owner, the money, the worth, the value of the semer of the wool. You made Simroi v'shiv choiloi. Oh, but it does not have to give him also the improvement money. In other words, let's say now, even after being destroyed, instead of 200, the item is now worth, once colored, once dyed, it's worth 400. He only gives me 200, not 400. What's the story? Why is that? Why is that true? That it continues the Gemara in order to answer Ellen's question. Lav sheikdicho leachar nefila the ika shvocha. Isn't it the case? Don't we talk about the case that it burnt and went bad after it fell properly into the paint? It already collected and absorbed the dye. The ika shavcha, it's already improved, and after it was beautiful. I wanted which color? I wanted bright red color, and it was nice and red, and then he ruined it. After it was nice and red, it worth 1,000 shekels, then it went down to 400 because something went bad and smelly and burnt. So what do you see? Bishmamino, we hear from here, Uman Koine Bishvach Kli. Why? Because we already finished the improvement process, Ellen. That's your question. Because he finished improving it at some point, and now at that point, if you have a slow motion camera, now here comes the flash. When it was raw wool, and then he died, and he painted and invested, now it's a nice piece of wool. At that point, who does it belong to? The craftsman, the Uman. That's why now it went bad. Now it went bad, and it's not worth 200, not 1,000. It's worth 400 or 500. Yeah, it's painted, but so now what do we say? It belongs to who? To the Uman. That's what the Uman doesn't have to pay for the red, beautiful paint, 1,000 shekels. No, he only has to pay 200 shekels because he's the one who actually created it and owns it. I don't have to pay you for the piece of work that belongs to me because I created it. Omer Shmuel. So here's a Shiur. Oh, let's bargain in. let's be happy for Rav Asi that he has a siyua. Almost Shmuel wants to dampen our joy. Almost Shmuel, says Shmuel, how do you know? You know the story of that bride says, we're talking that it burnt while it fell into the dye, into the color, into the samimonim. The lake shvacha, there was no shvach, Ellen. That's your question. You know when the mess up happened, when the mishap happened, before the shvach was completed, there is no shvach. There is no shvach to pay. There's no shvach. It wasn't painted and then went bad. L'chatchila, the whole thing was one big mess. Before it even reached the point of shvach, that's why there's no shvach to pay, because it just doesn't exist. Oh, what are you saying, Shmuel? Are you talking here now against Rav Asi? Gemara is now continuing Shmuel's statement instead of Shmuel. Are you, Shmuel, trying to tell me that if really it burnt after it was properly dyed, colored, painted, then it happened after the shvach, after it was in the pinnacle, it fell. Then you want to tell me that the craftsman will have to pay? Shmuel, are you against Rav Asi? Are you saying that he'll have to pay the owner, the one ordering the work, because really the shebach is not owned by the painter? In other words, are you saying Shmuel is against Rav Asi? Now Rashi has a problem here. And if Shmuel is against Rav Asi, good Shmuel is an Amayra. Rav Asi is also an Amayra. So why are you so scared of Shmuel being against Rav Asi? And you want you guys to answer me? I'm going to tea break. It's 10 o'clock. I have to drink tea. Why are we unhappy if Shmuel is not with Rav Asi? Because Shmuel is. A note to your wife. Because Shmuel is the Choshev Adayin in Bovel. Because Shmuel. Oh, so if Rav Asi is against Shmuel, then Rav Asi would be knocked out of the game. Shmuel, no. Says Shmuel, don't worry. I did not mean to say that I'm 100% against Rav Asi. I was only suggesting an idea. Yeah, that there's no proof from the Mishnah or the Brisa. I'm not saying that I know that he's wrong. He may be wrong. In the words of Shmuel, let Shmuel talk instead of me. He does a much better job. He isn't a Moira, but still a Dayan. So Allah is Lakim always in Din Mominus almost. So, yeah. No Tana. Area. Now listen to a big Yesoid in our Sugya. You know the stories over here? Says Shmuel, I have a different way to interpret the Brisa. Doesn't mean that I'm against Rav Asi for sure. I have a different way of understanding it. You know the stories? Baal Habayis gave him both semer, the wool, and he gave him the dye, the material, the colors. He gave him the colors too. He gave him everything. But Tzaba, the painter, the dyer, Agar Yodehu the Shokil. All he's taking is the work of his hands, which means, because here, when you think of it, to dye wool, with all the respect, is not, and my father was in textiles all over Shalom, is not like creating a whole new chair. When you create a whole new chair, you're creating a whole new piece. From wood, you make, wow, a whole new piece. To dye wool is to improve the existing wool. It was white and nicely washed, and you're improving it. Okay, so now, you, Mr. Craftsman, said, even if we follow with Rav Asi and say what? It's my work and my thing, when you build the whole chair, listen, I'm with you. I am a Rav Asi follower. It's your creation. You're very creative. It's yours. You don't have to pay anything. What about dyeing wool? Then, with all the respect, I know it's hard work to dye. We appreciate your work and have a good day and we love you very much. But Lamaisa, it's not that you created the whole thing. Element. If the color is yours, really having the color there, that's the effect. The difference between white and red is with or without color. If the color belongs to you, or the dye, whatever you want to call them, the material, then we say it's your investment. But if the Baal Habayis gave him the wool and the color, the dyes, the material, whatever you want to call it, the paint, and all he does is going like this, then we say that's like a poil. Then he's judged like your story before, like a worker. And a worker for sure is not the owner of the work of his hands. He's just paid for the menial job of changing it. That's not called working as a Uman Kona B'Shvach Kli, unless the collar belongs to him, and then he says, it's my collar in there. My improvement is my money, my paint, my red paint, which I bought yesterday. But it doesn't mean, I prefer, let me flow a bit and then your questions. Okay, and really Shmuel is not necessarily arguing with Rav Asi. He's suggesting a different shop in the Brisa, but he's not, a loggerheads with Rav Asi. You may or may not be right. I'm just suggesting. Don't tell me the Brisa is a proof for you. Don't get that high on your horse. Give Yochel. Frag the Gemara, Yachi, if so, but if Shmuel's idea is right, the Mishnah should have said that he gave him tzemer and samemonim. It doesn't say it. It doesn't say tzemer and samemonim. It says in the Mishnah, a person gave tzemer, wool, to the worker, to the painter, and so happened. Why did the Mishnah omit the word samemonim? Ela Shmuel, d'chuye kamad chilei, enachinami, which means Shmuel, we have to go back to what Shmuel said before. Shmuel's idea of saying that the Baal Habais gave him wool and this is not true, because the Mishnah doesn't say it. We can still go back one step backwards and say that Shmuel suggested that there was no shvach, but it still doesn't mean that Shmuel is proving Rav Asi wrong. You see Rashi, says Rashi, the Mishnah is not a help for Rav Asi. It doesn't mean that Shmuel argues on Rav Asi. All it means to say is that Shmuel suggesting that the Mishnah is all like Rav Asi. Like I told you before, the only difference is that now we're not saying this whole novel idea that he gave him the wool and the collar, because it doesn't say that he gave him the collar. That's all. So go back to before. Maybe what? Maybe there's no shvach. Maybe he messed it up too early. Such a shlemazel. Didn't even get to the point of having a good shvach. Right away, the whole thing was messed up and burnt. In Ela, there's no shvach to pay. But I'm not saying Shmuel is wrong. I'm not saying Rav Asi is wrong, but I'm not saying the Mishnah is necessarily helping him. There's a line, there's a queue and a line, and soon we're entering North Korea. I don't know if David Frank knows about North Korea, but every once in a while we go there. When time is short and there are too many questions, that's it, no question. You got the point. Yeah. So Shma, beautiful. I want to add something Baruch said. Very nice. Rashi says that it's like a sochir be'alma, and Mechavrus and I came to a conclusion, like you're saying, it's between a poil and a kabbalah. He's not a kabbalah, he's a kabbalah because he has to do the job. On the other hand, he's not paid per hour. But because his job is less significant, it's like a sochir. Toshma, a אומן. A person gave his garment to the woman. The question is, what's supposed to be done? Let's assume that he gave it to him to fix something, to sew something. You want to have an extra button, whatever, you have a tear in your pants and your trousers. Yeah, you gave it to the woman. Gomroi, the woman finished making it, and then you let me know by phone, hello, Merkaz Tfira, your pants are ready, your trousers are ready. Yomi, even if I take 10 days to collect it, and I did not collect my trousers, pants is not a nice word. Yeah, if I didn't collect my trousers from Merkaz Tfira, 10 days, and calling, and I say, no, I'm not coming. I have what to do. Then I'm not over loitolin. I told you before, what's loitolin? You're not allowed to postpone and hold back the payment of your worker. Well, as long as it still belongs, but it's still by them. I did not collect my trousers from the sewing center or from the dry cleaners. I don't have to pay them. That's Allah Chalamayse brought out in Biur Loch in Ilchas Shabbos. That's all different question what appears in Shabbos. However, once the dry cleaners or the seamstress gave it to me, even in the middle of the day, once it's sunset, you are grilled, you're sitting duck. Over once the garment is in my hands, and I got the garment from the person who sewed me the garment, yeah. Once it's nighttime, baltolin. What's baltolin? Don't let his salary sleep, so to speak, in your house. Don't let it stay overnight by you. Once it's shkia, you have to rush like crazy before shkia to give him the money. Wait a second. These Salkedaitach, we're now attacking Rav Asi. What did you say? Once she gave me the pants or the trousers or the shirt or the socks, and it's a done job, and she made me, she made me a whole new suit, the tailor. made me a whole new suit, and it's in my hands now. I have to pay him right away. Why? If you have this all beautiful, wonderful, courageous idea of Rav Asi, that the Uman is the owner and is really selling me, he got some very funny raw material, yeah, from me. I gave him material, some pieces of of textile I bought in Tel Aviv. That was my father's shop used to have that, yeah. And I gave him that, and he made a whole new creation, like David said, a whole new suit, unrecognizable, absolutely his work of his hands. His name is Gucci Pucci. Is a whole thing that he made here. And who does it belong to, the Gucci Pucci suit? To him, to craftsman, to the seamstress, to the tailor. And he's selling it to me. Selling? Am I oiver mishum baltolin? There's no baltolin by selling. Baltolin is by a poil. If I bought an item, so cucumbers, it's exactly like buy cucumbers in Yesh, not in Best Market, and telling them, I'll pay you tomorrow, and they're Mavater, they put a note, I'll pay tomorrow. It's not Baltolin. So what's the connection? Baltolin and Rav Asi don't go together. It's a sale. And says the Gemara, he's the person who just cleans the clothes. He's not a person who actually makes a whole new garment. It's not a garment that he created. I gave him my suit, and all he did was clean it very well. Or, according to Rashi, later on, they beat it and they make it more supple. Supple is about the leather. They make it softer. They make they soften my suit for me, making it nice and fresher. The like a shavcha. The Maisa, that's not called shvach. Huh? To have an improved suit, that's not a shvach. It's the same suit, just softer and cleaner. Right? That's why Rav Asi is right. Enochinami, when it's all new suit from raw material, wow, yeah, a whole new suit. He gave it to me. There's no, according to Rav Asi, there's no baltolin. It can pay me a year later. Why? Because it's not a pile. It's like I bought an item. But over here, we're talking about a suit that existed. It's, Erev Shabbos. I want to have a cleaner suit. I have a cleaner suit. That's not called shvach. Why is it called shvach? Soif, at the end of the day, what did he give it to him for? To soften it. Soften, cleaning, make it nicer. That is a shvach. As I told you before, by dyeing, by painting. It is shvach, less than a shvach, but it's shvach. If the dry cleaner went and he starts, they used to beat it, yeah, and beats it and makes it softer, it's an improved product. If I was to sell my suit on Wednesday when it was rough and not so nice, I'd get 500. Now that it's soft and supple and clean, I would get 800. So that's called shvach. Why do you say that cleaning the suit is not an improved suit? And says the Gemara, no. He rented him, he hired him in order to beat it. He doesn't pay per finished product. Bitcha bimata danus chirus. Bitcha in Aramaic means to kick. That's chirus, which means our agreement when I went to his dry cleaner or softening shop, whatever that is, he's not being paid per project. Okay, I want a softer, nicer suit, 50 shekels. No, he says, no, mister, it takes me a lot of beatings to do with special machinery from China. Yeah, and I pay him not for the general work. I pay him like a worker, not per hour, but per action. Once it's paid per action, boom, 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 then we say that, what? Then we say that that's considered obviously not an uman, and he did not acquire it. It doesn't belong to him. It belongs to him when I gave him something and I pay him per project. But if I pay him for the action, per hour, or per beating, for the action of his hands, then it's called a poil, and then obviously it's not called his suit and it's not his item, and therefore if I postpone his payment, I'm over Bal Tolim. Thank you very much. We're in the middle of the sugya. Continue tomorrow. Wednesday, tomorrow is a regular shiur. Thursday, there'll probably be a shorter shiur. I'll let you know tomorrow what's happening. I'm speaking to Ari and see what we can do.